So how have you been, Mike?
All good. Yeah, steady away.
Good. So before we get stuck into your rugby story, mate, where was home for you when you lived at home with you?
Home was Urmston in Manchester. Um, and it was me, my mum, my dad, and then my older sister.
Okay, mate. Where does the competitiveness come from then, mate?
Probably having an older sister who was good at sport.
Right.
One, when you're young, it was you can never get beat off a girl. So I had that old school, you can't let a girl beat you. And then yeah, she was just good at sport. So I think it probably came from that, to be honest.
Okay, mate. So how was you introduced to rugby and where was it?
So it was in nursery at St Michael's Primary School. Um, there was a little green go-kart, and everybody wanted to go on this little go-kart. And I was on it, and then this kid just crashed into me. And as I got out, he jumped in it. Um, and then, yeah, we had a bit of a to-do, but then from then became best mates. And his dad used to play down at Broughton Park and played for Oral Rugby Union, and played at a very high level when they were pros. And he always wanted his son Ben to get into rugby, and Ben was just a little bit nervous at 4 years old. So yeah, we got chatting, and my mum and dad met his mum and dad, and we went down to Broughton Park at the age of 4 years old.
Right, mate. And do you remember much about that, Mike?
You know what? When I look back at some pictures, I do like vivid memories come back. At the age of 4,
Yeah.
not that much, but I remember obviously being in nursery and remember that little kind of incident. But
Yeah.
one of the main things I remember was the old clubhouse at Broughton Park. All the kids used to go in after the game, sit on the radiators, eating those Space Invaders crisps and a can of Coke.
Right.
And I've just got memories of that. For some reason, that's just stuck in my head. I don't remember playing a game, but I remember eating the snacks afterwards. But yeah, that was a very young age.
Right. So just being nosy, because some viewers and listeners might not know about, but I might have played against it at Broughton Park. But when did the setup become as good as it did?
Um, can't remember the year, but we sold we sold the land that it was on, to
Right.
obviously housing development, and then we moved on to the other side, which is now Hough End playing fields. Um,
Okay.
built a new ground, and to be honest, the minis and juniors always had a good setup because in the local area of Chorlton, you had you had so much talent and so many athletes. I think the ethnic split that we had in our team, I think at one point we had lads from 7 different countries, up to 10 different countries, different nationalities, different birthplaces, and it was just, I don't know, it was so inclusive at such a young age, and I don't think we realised what we were part of, but we just had all the athletes coming from um, Moss Side, Bushholm, all them coming in, and I think the young kids kind of obviously came up, and remember 4 years above us, they got to the county championship, and I think they won the finals. Then in our age group, from probably under eights until 18s, we were very competitive.
Right. So would like Cheshire and Lancashire have been a thing you'd have got involved with, Mike, or do you remember much about rep rugby?
Yeah, yeah. So I was fortunate enough to get into the Lancashire setup. I think it was 15s, 18s, and 20s I played for Lancs.
Okay.
Um,
And
it,
did you do
it, it
that
was
playing for
it,
Broughton, mate? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So when
Some
when
going.
the team sheets came out, it would always have on all your Kirkham Grammar School, your Preston boys,
Yeah.
and the top rugby clubs in the north, basically. And then there was just one, two, or three of us from Broughton Park, and it kind of happened in a lot of age groups that you'd always have one or two from Broughton Park, but not many other clubs. So yeah.
Well, that's a good because you'll know yourself and not to like talk it down and that, but it's clicky Mike, isn't it? So for one, getting in by not going to grammar school is a great effort.
Yeah,
Two, without being rude to Broughton, isn't like the Wids, mate, isn't a glamour club, is it anymore?
yeah.
So you've done really well. Did you appreciate that when you were doing it?
I think looking back now, at the time, it was one of those that you'd play against teams and we'd always win. We were always in the Lancashire Cup finals. But then every time we got to the final, we'll come up against Best and Grasshoppers who brought all the Kirkham and Sedbergh boys back, and they they were just, pardon my French, but they dick us every time because they were just too good. They were all in a North England and England setup, and we were just a bunch of kids that, if I'm honest, none of us were any good at rugby. A lot of it was down to our coach at the time, who was my mate's dad, Ben Russell. His dad, John Russell, used to play at Broughton Park, and his coaching philosophy was never about how skillful we were. It was just the desire and commitment and the team ethic. And yeah, I think if you look back now, you'd struggle putting each individual player into a team and saying he's that caliber. But together we were dominant. We were killing it, to be honest.
It's class that, mate. So we'll rewind a little bit then, mate. And was football ever on the horizon? Because obviously, coming from Manchester, mate, I imagine it's everywhere you look, in it mainly red when we were growing up, but it's red and blue now, in it. So was that ever part of the thought process?
Well, my sister was pretty good at football, and I quickly realised that I was never as good as her. And yeah, we again where we grew up in Ameston, there was a lot of good footballers, and early on, early on in primary school, we remember we won a football tournament, and again, our school we didn't really have many footballers, but we were playing against teams that had a few like United Young Guns in there at the time, and same got into Welacre High School, and I think I played for a football team 3 times, and we played an away game. And then the PE teacher, who was a coach, said, "Have you got shin pads?" And I said, "No, don't need shin pads, do I?" And he said, "Yeah, you can't not play without shin pads." So he had a pair of Cougar rugby boots on with 12 long studs, and he had to put two maths books down my shins. So the ref thought I had shin pads on. But yeah, I was quickly kicked out of school football team. But yeah, I think if I went down a football route, if I'm honest, I don't think I would have learned some of the respect and some of the discipline I've learned in rugby personally. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I know a lot of footballers that are, but I just think rugby's taught me a lot more lessons than I think I would have learned at football.
I like that, mate. I tend to agree with that. So as a student then, Mike, how was the transition into high school, mate? And what type of student was you?
Hmm. You know, the transition from primary school to secondary school, it was dead good because we had a good group of mates in primary school that all ended up at the same secondary school. So there'd be about 6 to 8 of us that would meet every morning and walk to school, and then before you knew it, it multiplied, and there was a group of 20 of us all walking to school together. Um, and when we were in year seven, a lot of the lads' brothers were in year 11. So straight away we were only bullied by the year 11s. We were never bullied by the year 10s, 11s. The year 9s or 10s, just the year 11s. Um, so we kind of found out the hard way, and yeah, I think going from there, I became very sarcastic and practical joke orientated. And as many times I took it a little bit too far, but anything I do to someone, if they did it to me, I'd probably laugh. But yeah, I had to learn the boundaries quite a few times growing up, but I'd never be a bully. I'd just always be a practical joker. And I think I still am now, to be honest.
Okay, mate. How was school rugby then, mate? How did that work? So was your school a little bit like ours, where maybe you'd have someone who played up front in the footy team on the wing or things like that? Was it a bit of a patchwork team?
Yeah, so it was classed in as an emerging school. So the emerging school would play against other emerging schools, so not against like your again your Mayaskos, etc. St Ambrose. But again we got probably about 7 or 8 of us that all went from the school to Broughton Park. So we all ended up playing for the school team. And again, ended up being pretty good. Every tournament we played in, we were winning and playing against St Ambrose, who was a rugby school, and we beat them. Um, but yeah, we'd have footballers coming in who were just fast, and it was like see how quickly you can give them the ball and watch them score. Yeah, I think if looking back now, the skill level was probably atrocious, but we were just kind of don't know. We were just a bunch of mates playing rugby, and I think that's what brought the best out
Enjoying
of
it,
us.
mate. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's good though, innit? Because like obviously we're going to talk about how far you've got with it, that mate, and how well you're doing. But sometimes I imagine when you're climbing the ladder, mate, sometimes the fun gets sucked out, doesn't it? And you need that little reminder of why you started playing.
yeah, definitely. I think going from playing as a hobby and enjoying it, and then as soon as you sign that contract where you're now in a team because somebody's chosen you to be in that team, rather than playing at your local club, you're then responsible not for yourself but for them and not letting them down. So the pressure quickly does build. Um, but yeah, I think it's trying to stay grounded and again, like you said, looking at your mates and reminding yourselves why you're playing it in the first place.
So when you were playing school rugby compared to at Broughton, would you go and do stuff playing for school that you probably wouldn't do at Broughton because it's a bit more serious?
In terms of what, like trying different skills out,
Like,
or
yeah, chipping chases early doors or playing like maybe even trying a couple of your moves from Broughton, but with lads that don't play.
um, not me personally, because I'm never very skillful. I quickly again learned that the skill aspect isn't my thing and having a bit of flair. So um, yeah, there's a few things that we try getting other people to try, but not me personally. I let the skillful players do it.
As do you say that considering how far you've got though, mate, innit? You can't
It's
get where
all
you're at without having a bit about you,
it's all about who you know.
mate. No, that helps, don't get me wrong, I know we're laughing and that now, but mate, you've got to be able to play. Like we're
Yeah,
going to
no, I
talk
think
about that
yeah,
like Swinton and
yeah,
how well all of you have done, that young group you come through with at Swinton. Like, look at how well you've all done.
I know,
You
I
all
know.
have
Yeah,
something.
it's pretty mad.
So when you're at Broughton then, mate, and you're playing through, because don't know if it was the same for you. I think I'm older than you, aren't I, mate? So when you're not playing cup games, they weren't really fixtures, were they? They were like pool games, weren't they? So they were
Pretty
sort
much,
of
yeah.
friendlies. Yeah. So how did you treat a game day from your normal Sunday to a cup game?
But I didn't really treat it much differently, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I don't think I do now. There's certain occasion when you're like, this occasion's bigger than another occasion. But yeah, I'd always just go out and play the game, regardless of who we're playing against. And again, just making sure that I'm enjoying it. Otherwise, there's no point doing it anymore. So yeah, I don't think I prepped any differently than what I would if it was a cup game or league game or whether it was a friendly.
And positional wise, mate, back three or anywhere across the back line?
Um, Playing Union, I'd go inside centre, outside centre, wing or full back, just again anywhere that I was kind of needed.
Right. So can I pick your brain then, mate, about positional awareness of some of them?
Yeah.
So for viewers and listeners that won't know, mate, defending at 12, which we deem inside centre, defending at
Mhm.
13 outside centre, are so different, Mike, aren't they? What would you be looking for when you're defending and attacking in them positions?
I'd be trying to find out how not to defend. So I'd get the other person next to me to make the tackles. And then I'd just
Told
jump
you
in
you
and
were
look and
smart, mate.
trying to steal the ball off the guy on the floor. But yeah, like you said, the body positions of and the body sizes of inside centres and outside centres, especially back when I was playing union, there was a massive difference. The inside centre was a bigger like truck crash ball runner, and then the 13 would get it, and it was fast as anything. And again, a lot of the teams I played were pretty tall, so it was a fine line between going in to tackle that inside centre and just getting run over, or the outside centre dusting you, and then yeah, you just stood in the middle of the pitch going, what's just happened to me? So, no, there's a big difference, if I'm honest, of being inside and outside centre, yeah.
But you can be heavily exposed really easy at 13, mate, can't you?
Yeah.
And like most of the time, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, because your wingers just kind of trying to defend a bit of space. Do you know what I mean? And he's not like next to you. So yeah, you're dead exposed on the outside. And like you say, if you turn in a little bit to try and help the inside centre out, then you've just been burnt. So
And then same from wing to fullback, mate, because the peripheral of what you're looking at is very different, even though you're probably only 10 yards apart at sometimes, isn't it?
yeah, I think playing with good players definitely helps because they help tell you kind of where to go and where to drop and the field position to be in. But in times it's similar to league with your pendulum. You only really do it on fourth or fifth tackle in league, but your fullback maybe going over to the left hand side and you fill in the middle of the pitch. And it's kind of similar in union, but obviously I played last time I played union was over 10 years ago, so I know the game's changed quite a lot now and kicking's a lot more territorial and focused on. So I don't know how on earth I'd get on in Union now.
Oh, you'd be sweet, mate. You'd be sweet. So, what did them rep games ever have you feeling overwhelmed, Mike, or were you happy that you could compete at that level?
There was definitely times being sat in the changing rooms looking at the other lads, being like, "You're an athlete," and we were only 15, 16 years old. And you could just see that the training they were doing, the way the snacks they were bringing to training session. We did a 5 hour training session once, and I'm there with a miles behind a Lucasade, and they've all got like meal preps, and I'm like, bloody hell, I'm a bit out of my depth here. I'm only 16, like, but yeah, a lot of them went on to go and play England, and obviously went on to university and played hell of a university games. So um, I think it's just the environment they were in. They were in the environment where they were kind of good sports rugby players. So the school was helping him, the clubs were helping him, and then obviously county. So yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I was overwhelmed, but I definitely sat there thinking I'm a bit of an imposter here. Like, if you look at the team sheet, it's all your grammar schools and all your like top end rugby clubs, and then just
All the
my club up
clubs.
from a public school in Flixton and well, like a technology college on my name. Yeah,
But at least your name got on there. Because I remember. So did you ever go earlier once, Mike, and just didn't make the cut?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So like we used to go like Edge Hill and do a training
yeah,
day, and like I'm a council estate lad, mate. I'm just like Ford Escorts or whatever. That's what my mum and dad had. No mum was a doctor.
yeah,
Rock up, there's Mercs, Range Rovers. They've all in pre-Lancashire kit. All
yeah,
play for your Files, your Prestons, your um, some from Lee, and you'd be thinking, bloody hell, like I'm just a chubby kid from Widnes here. And they, like you
yeah,
said, but they were athletes at like 12, 13, 14, weren't they?
yeah, yeah. They were.
And I think some environments, Mike, as well, is once you're in, it's harder to get out than harder to get back in.
Yeah, I suppose I do know. I know a few lads that I was lucky enough to play with at county, and they don't play anymore because they've literally said they went to university and went, "Wow, what's this lifestyle? I never knew about this lifestyle before," because all they knew was play rugby from such a young age, and it
Sleep
it
in
kind
for
of
a
got
year
sucked
now.
out of them. And it's not like football where the money they'd get it changes your life. In rugby, it's unless you're top of the top of the union game, you're gonna have to have a job in the next 5, 10 years anyway. So yeah, I think a lot of them kind of got to university and were like, yeah, I'm done with trying to be as trying to be a professional, basically.
Oh, that's fair enough, innit? So when you were in that environment, mate, how did you find it? Are you someone that can fit in and you can mix it up with people pretty quick, or are you quite reserved?
Again, I think when that imposter syndrome kicks in, you sit in the changing room and, like you said, lads are turning up in gear from previous years, and you see them all talking to each other. You know they don't play at the same club together, but they've already been in the environment. So being new to it, you sit there a bit reserved and just you have just got to bite the bullet and start a conversation. And there's a lot I've still got on social media now from playing together at 16, 17 years old that I still speak to every now and then. So I think that was there's some lads that I must have played only 3 games with and I still speak to 15 years later. So it just goes to show that stepping out your comfort zone a little bit, you can make friends and kind of buds for life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. When you were playing, mate, did you feel the standard step up again?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, our team it was just full of lads that could run fast and they were just there for each other. And you step up a level and that pass goes 5, 10 yards further and the kicks go a little bit longer, a little bit higher, and the tackles are a little bit harder. But um, yeah, that was obviously getting to county level. And then there was that other step up of North England and England, which obviously I never made in union. But yeah, you could see the standard change from club level to county level.
So we've brought and got any of your stuff hung up, mate, whether it's your Welsh stuff or your Lancashire stuff or out like that.
They did, and then they went and repainted everywhere, and it's not been put back up yet. So I think I'm in the store
Rude.
cupboard downstairs.
No, because it's some, like I said, mate, with that again, not blowing smoke at your ass, it is some achievement for lads outside of that circle to make, isn't it? Like you said, it is very clicky. Like I weren't even asked to go. I got told to go to like at Lancashire under 20s, and that
Yeah,
was the same. I rocked up. I was like bloody, and I swear, I think they pick a squad of 40, don't they? Like
yeah,
32 of them didn't even go the trial days.
yeah. It's mental. It's mental, isn't
But
it?
it's just how it is, isn't it? And I get it if they're playing, in the national leagues, mate. I get it. They don't
Yeah,
need to prove themselves, but at least come one, just so you could say like, oh well, I did turn up. But yeah, it is what it is, isn't it, mate? And I know I weren't good enough. I just wanted that experience of training against them and seeing what it's about and that. But yeah, it is how it is, isn't it? So, what was the thought leaving school? What did you want to do, Mike?
if I'm honest, not a clue, and I still don't really have a clue now. I've never had a career plan of what I wanted to do. I never thought I want to play rugby for the rest of my life, and I want to get paid to do it. It never kind of crossed my mind. Leaving leaving school, I was good at sport, but then I resented learning about sport, as in your PE type stuff. I was good at it, but it kind of sucked the life out of me. And then leaving secondary school, um, I went to college, went to Salford City College, Pendleton, um, and did a sports course. And again, it just fit. It's not what I wanted to do, but everyone else was going to college, and I couldn't just drop out. So went and did really well in college. And then the college said, go to university, that's the next step. And at that point, I didn't really want to go. I didn't know what I wanted to study. Um, and then, yeah, they just kind of didn't push me. It obviously looked good for the college that we're going to university, but it was just a path to go down. So I went to uni, didn't enjoy it, and I quit after 3 months. So, yeah, I've never really had a striving ambition of what I wanted to do
Pendleton play rugby league, mate, don't they? So when did rugby league enter your life? Was it at Pendleton?
at Pendleton, yeah. Yeah, it got to the point where I was playing for the senior colts at Broughton Park, and then playing first team on the was playing first team on the Saturday, um, senior Colts on the
Colts on a
Sunday,
Sunday.
training Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then obviously going to college, and it was just too much of the same sport. So did a little switch over to rugby league, and then yeah, started getting started playing for the college team, and we were pretty fortunate to play at the Willows before they shut.
Yeah.
So that was our home ground, and playing with a lot of the college lads, they were born and bred Salford fans, and do you know what I mean? I could see how much it meant for them playing at the Willows. Like looking back now at the time, it didn't really mean much to me. And then we managed to play at the AJ Bell when that first opened. I'm sure we played a curtain raiser before Salford played, and again, I wasn't involved in the rugby league world, so I didn't really understand like the passion or how kind of big it was that we were playing our home games there. And then yeah, I went to university, stopped playing league, but then one of my friends was like, "Come on, let's just play league again." And then it kind of took off from there when I got to uni, if I'm honest.
Oh, a little bit. How old were you when you were playing first team, mate? Did you break in quite young at Broughton?
Yeah, you had to be 18. Um, and I was 17 when I started playing, and I can't remember what happened, but the team manager at the time, Phil Sutcliffe, I'm sure he did something that meant I could play before I was meant to. But yeah, I learned so much from playing open age at a young age. And then bringing that back into playing at Colts level, you could see the difference in lads who were playing senior rugby and lads who just played junior.
So I used to have a good battle against. I don't think his name's Paddy. It's just because he's Irish, in it.
Oh yeah, no, it
But
is.
he played seven, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I used to
Went to
play eight
number
for
eight
the
a few
Wids, mate.
times.
Yeah, yes. But he was good, him. But his name's not Paddy, is it? Or is it? It's just because he was Irish, wasn't it?
No, it's Paddy.
What?
It's Paddy. No,
Yeah,
it's Paddy.
that's not his name, though, is it?
Yeah,
I just
Paddy
thought it's because he
O'Donnell.
was Irish.
No,
Oh,
no,
right. I
it's
just thought it's
Paddy.
because he was Irish.
Yeah, no, no,
He
it's
was a
Paddy
good player,
O'Donnell.
him.
Oh yeah, it's class Paddy.
Yeah, he was, and mate, he was like really consistent as well. Like you were, to be fair, as a club. I might have just missed you or just caught you at like the back end of you going uni and stuff, but it was never an easy game. So, how did you find transferring between the sports, mate?
I was I was pretty open-minded if I'm honest. There's always been a lot of beef between league and union, and I have no idea why. Because every time we came up against teams like Lee Rugby Union, they just had boys coming back from a league season, and they were all just solid. They were dead skillful. They could play at the line, and they were just running through us every time. And again, playing against the Wids, you have a few boys that would play both sports, wouldn't you? And you could see the skill level, and I thought, well, why would I not learn different skill sets and different ways of doing stuff? So, yeah, I was pretty open-minded. I got a bit of grief off, obviously, a few boys for playing league, but it's kind of paid dividends now, hasn't it? It's opened
That's
doors
it.
that weren't there for me.
Yeah. When I played against Pendleton, I think if the site got a pitch just outside the fence line, and there was like an old, like there was like an independent channel used to film you.
You had it was it was next to a school called Buell Hill, um,
I think
and
that's
there's
where
like a
I
little
played.
yeah, there was like a little 4G and then our kind of field, yeah, just next to the ground.
Yeah. So when did you start get noticed, mate? How were you aware you were being noticed, and how did it come about?
A lot of it, if I'm honest, is down to a good friend called Blake Mahovic. Um, he he was born up in Workington, I think. Um, so he was just an athlete. He was an absolute freak. He'd easily be in Super League if he could be asked. Um, but yeah, he went to uni and he was just a big advocate of mine, and he'd always put my name forward. He was always in the England setups and stuff, and um, yeah, first time I went down, we were coached by a lad called Ryan Powell. He was involved down at, I think he was Wigan St Pat's. Um,
Right.
but at the time, he was assistant coach at Swinton. So I jumped on the uni team. And I think he only coached me for about 5, 6 sessions and he actually left. But obviously stayed in touch with him. And then carried on playing at uni. The trials came about, the North England trials, etc. And the students level, similar to county, if I'm honest, but you have North England, South England, East, and all the universities meet up, and it was down in um, where was it? Nottingham Uni, and you just play a big tournament against each other, um, and yeah, it kind of took off from there. Then managed to get an England squad first year, and then from then it kind of took off. But the way Swinton came about was Ryan Powell texted me saying, like, congratulations getting in England set up. And he said, have you got an England stash for me? And I said, yeah, it depends. Does Swinton want a fullback or winger? Just as a bit of a crack. And he said, just come down for the trial. I was like, all right, okay. So I said, where? And they were training at Sedgley Park Rugby Union at the time.
Yeah.
That's where they were based. So I knew that ground pretty well because one of my mates played there. Then I've been to the gym a few times. So I've gone straight in the change rooms and sat down. And 20 odd lads have just sat looking at me. Like, who's this guy? I've got my 12 stud rugby union cougar boots on, and they're like, oh God, who's this lad? And then, yeah, I just jumped in, and Ryan wasn't even there. He was off that night. He didn't tell John Duffy, who was coach at the time.
Yeah.
So I've just jumped in training with him all, and they're like, in the nicest way, what you doing here, pal? And I said, oh, I'm on a trial. And then, yeah, uh, John came and spoke to us afterwards and said, yeah, Ryan mentioned something, but I didn't know what your name was or who you were. So yeah, just come and train with us. And then it was he offered he offered like a trial contract, which was 4 weeks. Um, and at the time, Richie Hawkyard, who was a fullback, got injured. And we didn't have any players, so we ended up making my debut against Keighley down at Sedge scoring. And yeah, I played all right. I played enough for them to keep me on till the end of the year, and then yeah, that's where the story began.
Right. Can we go back to the uni stuff, mate? Sorry, because I've overlapped it. So, are you selected to go to that tournament in Nottingham off the back of your campus performances? How does that work?
Pretty much, yeah. You have the selectors that kind of go about and whatnot, and like you said, they'll invite X amount of players down, and we did I think our trial game was down at Edge Hill, um, uni. So it's not like an open day, but basically it's university coach or team selector, a handful of players, and say we think you're capable of making this squad. And then you're battling out against 50 different students from the northwest, um, getting into the northwest team. The northeast did the same, so Leeds, Beckett, Newcastle unit, all them did the same. They select a team. The Midlands and London, the south, and yeah, that's how it's done. So it's a bit of like an open day, but you've been picked out of your university team.
Right. And as you're climbing through, do you fancy your chances, mate? Because you're quite laid back by it, aren't you, mate? You're quite chill, but it's starting to get a little bit serious, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough one again because I've never been goal orientated. I've never gone, I want to achieve that because I've not known what's possible. And I don't know whether that's being maybe a little bit naive or maybe not backing myself, but I've never thought that was a realistic target. So it wouldn't have been something I'd set myself, even if
Yeah.
I was a target setter. But I'd constantly be speaking to Blake, and Blake was kind of in there. He was by far the best student rugby league player at the time. He was just unbelievable. So he was kind of guaranteed he's going to be in the squads no matter what. And they just said everything you're doing, but you're kind of doing it right, and you'll be fine. But even that reassurance and saying I'll be fine, you're looking at some of the other players that you're playing against, and you're just like, these these have come from a rugby league background. These have played league from the age of 6, 7 years old, and then I'm like a bit of a bandit that's come from union and chancing my arm elsewhere. So yeah, again, I think it's probably the imposter syndrome of am I capable for this? But every time the door was open a little bit, and I went through it, and that is down to hard work and commitment and desire. Like I know I've earned it. But yeah, it wasn't any targets that I thought I'm gonna get this.
So do you know what you've just said? You've earned it, mate. You managed to maybe enjoy it a bit more because you haven't played rugby league since four, five, six, and seven.
Well, regardless, I played rugby, and it takes its
Yeah.
toll. I just try not to take it too seriously. Um, and sometimes I think, does that hold me back? Have I done my full potential? But as we probably touch on later in the podcast, I've reached kind of some of the highest levels that you can. So I think that's why I've enjoyed it, and that's why I'm still playing it, because I just remind myself of this is a laugh. This is enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? I'm meeting new people every year. I'm meeting good friends that I'm mates with that I played with 15 years ago, and I'm still mates with now. And I probably won't have that because I see people that don't play team sports, and their friend network is a lot smaller than mine. So yeah,
So going away and doing that, mate. Did you know you were saying like Tarata Rugby Union really?
I don't think I've fully said goodbye yet. Um,
Oh yeah, so maybe there's a chance of going back home and doing a couple of years and stuff.
yeah, I'll be back playing down at the Widnes Rugby Union for Broughton Park,
Yeah.
and seeing how I get on. But no, yeah, it's one of those. The old team manager probably messages me every single year saying, "Are you going to come back? Then are you going to come back? Are you going to come back?" And any time in the off season, I speak to a few people at different clubs, and um, I love to just go and play a few games. But when you're in contract and someone's paying for your services, one, it's breaching your contract, and two, it wouldn't be fair if I went and got injured playing. I could scupper myself for my season basically. So
And that does happen, mate, doesn't it? So it is a risk, isn't it? Like
yeah.
you'll know yourself that some of your mates at Brown will have played against some lads in your league and
Mm.
that are have just recently retired. So they still probably could be playing, couldn't they?
Yeah,
And it does happen, mate. So on the back of that, then, right, and you've seen that season out at Swinton. How do you approach speaking to someone about staying? Because, like you said, you take it as it comes at this point, don't you? And you're just finding your own way. So how do you navigate the business side of rugby when you've only just started navigating rugby?
I didn't have a Scooby-Doo.
Uh,
And I don't think I was scared of admitting that. That first year in 2015, we were promoted straight into the championship. Um, I played a good few games towards the end of that season. Played in the playoff final and scored and had a pretty decent game. So I didn't have an agent. I didn't even know what an agent was at the time and how they went about it. But yeah, John Duffy and Jay Duffy just said, "Look, do you want to stick about?" And at the time, I didn't know what money people were getting. I didn't know. Again, I didn't. I felt like an imposter getting paid to play when I'm just out here having a bit of a dig and a bit of a laugh. But it was quickly a step up because we were in championship, and it was like, wow, this is another step up. This, and then you obviously throughout the years you had teams like Lee Centurions coming down who still full-time teams, and I'm coming off the back of playing at Broughton Park and straight into this environment. So the actual conversations coming about, I was just winging it, if I'm honest. It wasn't what's next for me. It was, do you want to stick about next year? And it was, yeah, yeah, please,
No, that's
yes,
it.
please.
Yeah. Well, it's not only that, mate. Like you, I didn't realize, but you've just played in a playoff final and you've not been in the game a year.
Mm.
Did you appreciate how serious that was? Because I imagine in them games, Mike, it's for a lot of people's livelihoods, it's more than a game, innit?
Well, that game it was played at Widnes, the Vikings. So I've got in, there's a stand on each side of the pitch, and I'm like, bloody hell. Didn't know there was this many stands could fit on the pitch. I'm used to
Yeah.
just a metal fence and a few advertisement boards, but yeah, like to me, I was like, wow. Obviously, at the time, there was probably about 2,000 fans, so it wasn't full by any means, but there were people there, and they came to watch us play. It wasn't just friends and family at the time; it was actual kind of fans watching, and yeah, I think at the time it was a bit like, wow, this is cool. And then, yeah, year after year, they just got better and better.
You know what? We just laughed then, but you know, one of the first things I realised when like the game's a serious game is like when you've got proper linesmen.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
and not
only
just
little daft things in it, but
yeah,
when
not one
you
of the
look and
subs.
yeah, or it's
Yeah,
not like the chairman or the fixture
yeah,
secretary, and you're like, oh, you got to behave a little bit more here, and you
yeah.
because you're doing the intricacies in rugby union, you get away with murder, can't you? Really?
Oh, I was never nasty, but I was a bit of a grub on the floor. Like I'd push people's faces in the floor as I stood up just to wind them up. Because then when they went to hit me a bit harder, I'd step out of the way and I'd I'd get past them. So yeah, I was a proper wind-up merchant, but I can't do it now because the touch judge is stood right next to me on the wing
That's what I
saying,
mean.
Mike,
Yeah.
Mike, leave him alone, leave him alone. So I get told off
But no,
now.
it's and we're laughing now, but you mentioned Lee then, didn't you? And there's the famous. Well, you're at Haywood Road at this point, aren't you?
Hmm.
So you're at the old Sale Sharks ground, which is now Sale FC,
Yeah,
and that's when all that murder happened, wasn't it? And like you
that's
talk about a
when.
scrap, mate. That was a scrap on it.
Yeah, I think I was 18 years old and I think Gaz uppercutted me 5 times. I
Yeah, right,
had, I
fresh
had
out the
no,
way, and you're scrapping with a full
I
man,
had
aren't
no
you?
idea what was going on. It wasn't even my fault. It was Roger Lloyd's fault. He stood on Adam Higgson's hand twice and he thought it was me.
Right.
It was a complete accident, but he stood on his hand. Um, and I remember him saying something, saying, do that again. And Roger did it again, but by accident. So Adam Higgson stood up and uppercutted me and just dazed me. And I was like, whoa, what's just going on here? And then a scuffle broke out. And I walked off to the touch judge and been like, "Oh, what was that about?" And then Josh Barlow jumped in, grabbed Gazok, and then I've just come in the middle. And then Martin Ridyard's got my hands behind my back. He's just laughing as he's holding my hands behind my back. And Gazok uppercuts me about 3 times. And I'm like, what on earth's going on? Then I got yellow carded. So I had all the Leaf fans taking a piss out of my lisp, shouting at me because I've just been yellow carded. My face is swollen. And then, yeah, came back on, played the game. And then Gazok came and brought a pint over to me as I was sat with my mum and dad after the game. And yeah, it was just, it didn't matter what happened on the pitch. Like, as soon as that whistle was gone, everyone was just mates. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was a good
Yeah.
laugh.
So how did you find some of the intensity of the games? Because they're drastically different, mate, aren't they? I'm not going to ask you to name a team that was easier than another because some of them teams are still about and stuff. But it you can't hit elite level every week, mate, can you?
No, it's tough for games like that because there's certain games that you do see everybody get a bit more amped up for, a bit more ready for, and then there's teams when you might go, we're more likely to win than not win this week. But as soon as you go into that game with that attitude, is when it becomes the toughest game you probably play.
Yeah,
When you are playing teams like obviously Lee at the time when we were in Championship, and even when Hull KR came down, it was. We've not really got a big chance of winning here, but let's just give it a dig. And you end up playing pretty well because you're just playing on like a lot of adrenaline and there's no there's no stress level of going, you're expected to win this game. Um, and I think that's why at Swinton, one of the reasons I was there for so long, we were always the underdogs. We were never meant to win most games, and we ended up doing kind of pretty well most years because we had the attitude of there's no pressure on us. Like the bookies are against us, they expect the other team to win. So just go out, have a dig, and you probably get the win if you do.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of things, mate. So as a player, do you change? How do you cope with the change that regularly happens in the champ? So like it's like a revolving door at times with players and coaches, isn't it, mate? How do you stay in the moment and stay focused?
Um, I don't think there's an easy answer to it. I think one of the transferable skills that I've used in life is just being adaptive to situations and nothing straightforward in your day-to-day life. I don't want to go emotional and deep, but you have bereavements out of nowhere. You have family members that just pass away or stuff happening outside, and if you can't adapt to that situation in real life, then obviously you've got no chance in sport. So a lot of lessons came from outside of rugby, but then you learn a lot of lessons in rugby and go, it kind of is what it is. There's no, you can't say, well, that's not fair, because nothing's fair, is it?
Well, you can say it, mate, but the world waits for no one, does it?
That's it, yeah. So
Yeah,
you could have a partnership with somebody in league. You can have like your edge, your back row off, back centre winger. And I think last year we probably used about 7 different combinations just due to injuries and personnel changes. So if you can't adapt quickly, you're just going to be stuck and you're just going to get left behind, basically.
yeah, you stagnate, mate, don't you? So a few, what are the highlights from Swinton, mate? And before you go into the highlights, Mike, sorry if this is a bit intrusive because I didn't send you this, but what's what's it feel like being on because the level that you're playing is well beyond what I've ever played, mate. But what does a 12-month contract do to someone? Like, for security and stuff, like do you get twitchy, Mike, or is it just it is what it is?
Again, for me, I feel pretty lucky the position I had because I had no expectations of being paid to play sport. But I know a lot of people that have come through an academy system, is what they've known for X amount of years. Um, so some of the life lessons and um, they couldn't fall straight into another career because it was kind of rugby was the path they were going down. Same with a lot of footballers, if I'm honest. Um, so that 1 year deal was was kind of major for them because they're coming from you are a rugby player already. Here's a 1 year deal. You get injured or you don't play well that year, you're probably not going to get something a year after. Um, and again, that's for people who have the ambition of going, I want to be at this level. I never had that, so every time I got offered one, it was like, well, yeah, I'll take it, I'll snap it up, and um, yeah, I think the answer, a lot of different people, a lot of other people would answer that question differently because of the position they were in, but the position I was in was, I'll take what I can get, and I'm happy cracking on. And if we don't get offered another one, I don't get offered another one. But yeah, the a 2 or 3 year deal is nice. But as you know, the rugby league world is constantly changing. If you look at most of the championship, everyone's played at different clubs, so there's probably going to be someone to pick you up if you don't get selected.
I like that attitude, though, mate. Uh, yeah, you are really humble with it and that, but I do like it. So yeah, some of your highlights from Swinton, then, mate, before we talk about the move. So what stands out for you?
Um, some of the most enjoyable memories will have been Toronto when they were in the league. Sky Sports filming every game. Flying over to Canada for 4 days to play and the squad they assembled as well. You're playing against like superstars. regardless of being in championship or what, there was some talent there that were well above championship level. And just everything Toronto were building. Again, I was fortunate enough to go a couple of times, and the fans had no idea what rugby league was over there, but they had 10,000 people watching, and they just love sport. And that was one of those times when I was like, wow, I'm being paid to be here. I'd probably never go on a holiday to Toronto in my life. And I'm here for 4 days. I had to take a day unpaid leave at work, but I gotta I gotta get paid to spend 4 days with my mates, play a bit of rugby on Sky Sports, and then have a bloody 10-hour flight home. But yeah, they were some good memories. And if I'm honest, every time one of your big hitters came back into championship, so Wilney came back down and Hull KR came back down, you're playing against a Super League team basically, and it was just yeah, it was a nice feeling going. For my mindset was I'm probably never going to play Super League, but I'm getting the opportunity to play against them this way. So yeah, there were some good memories.
Not seeing the bar without being there, weren't you, mate? The standard bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never say never, mate. But so stuff you haven't mentioned are personal accolades because you were really successful at Swinton, mate. So try scoring, player of the year, young player of the year. Again, because of how relaxed you are, mate. Did you understand what that meant? Or with that? So the next phrase, I don't mean to be offensive, but were you bothered?
Yeah, every time yeah, it's a massive achievement, and I was fortunate growing up through Broughton Park where I would be winning trophies, and it kind of carried on when I got to Swinton. I was winning them, and I was thinking, do I deserve to win these? Am I the best player on that pitch? And I still doubted myself as being the best, but I knew that I was one of the hardest working, and I cared a hell of a lot. So um, when I got them, yeah, I would get a bit emotional receiving the awards. And then looking back at the table and seeing like my mum and dad smiling and how proud they were. But for myself, it was a bit of, yeah, that's cool. Like I've earned that. And then you'll just get a little sarky comment with one of the boys and say most improved player doesn't count. But end of the day, it was a trophy on the mantelpiece. But
That's it,
um,
mate.
no, I think one of the accolades that I got at Swinton was scoring 100 tries for Swinton. And I think nowadays there's not many people that play at teams that long. Um, some of the records you see from back in the day of playing 300 games for one club or X amount of tries, I think those days are kind of gone. So I don't know how many people are going to be at Swinton for as long as I was. So I think that's something that might be there for a long time, and don't think many more players are going to get added to that list of scoring over the 100 tries for one club. So
The loyalty's not really there now from both sides, is it, mate?
no, no, it's
Yeah.
not.
No, that's a good way of putting it. I like that, mate. And obviously, I know you through a mutual friend of ours. I'm not going to pretend and say I know you really well, which is why I've got you on here. But that group of mates that you were with, you were all really close and still are, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. There's what's pretty not annoying, but I've got a shared calendar with my missus. And last Friday there was something in there saying Chinese with the girls. So I said, "Oh, where you off to?" She said, "Oh, I'm meeting the rugby girls." And I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, I'm seeing the rugby girls." And I said, "They're my mates. They were my mates, and they're your mates now because of my mates."
Yeah.
And I can't remember last time the lads kind of all met up together. We went for the beer at the end of the season, but there's the odd person that couldn't make it and stuff. But as a core, um, I can't remember last time all of us have been fully together. But seeing the girls organise stuff themselves, that's dead rewarding that they found each other because of rugby basically and
Use.
because of
Yeah.
sport and obviously me making the friendships that we've made. But um, yeah, that's one of those groups that there'll be a group chat for the next 20, 30 years, and we'll always have that bonding connection. So yeah.
You're scattered now, mate, aren't you? It's like, imagine if they'd have been able to keep you together, which financially for Swinton would have been impossible, mate. Let's not chat much crap about it, but it was some group.
Well, I think the only way to get us back to vet team, if we get a vet team going, which
The
I think you only have
Masters,
to, you only have to be 35 now, don't you, to qualify?
35,
So
mate. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, give us another 5 years. We've got the 2030 World Cup, um, is is when I'll be 35 years old, and if I can hold on and I'm good enough to make that, then that'll be me finishing, and then play Masters with all the old boys.
And I do, I like that, mate. So before we move on to your next move, there's a couple of things I apologise because I haven't really sent it yet. So do you know your job you've not long left, mate, the rigging up and that?
Yeah.
Let Tell fans and viewers and listeners what that entails because to play rugby on the back of some of the hours you were doing and some of
Yeah.
the arenas and stages you were setting up to good
Yeah.
effort, mate.
Yeah, so basically, our company, Silverback, we provided labour for the events industry. So the boxing on Sky Sports is a good example. You're in Manchester Arena, you have the boxing ring and then the floating rig above with all your lights, your video wall, etc. Our client who owns all that kit will call us and say, I need 6 to 10 lads at 6 a.m. in the morning at Manchester Arena on Friday. We'd go set the event up for them, and then usually we were back at midnight, 1 a.m. to take the event down again. So starting out at Swinton, I was always on site. So I was one of the boys who were doing the night shifts, the day shifts. I was doing finishing the night shift at 5 in the morning, then going doing pre-season at Rivington Pike, running up the hills, and um, I tried managing myself where it wasn't going to affect the game, but it got to a point where it was work and I needed the money coming in. So I was finishing night shifts and playing Halifax away. And I know there's quite a few players now who are firemen and doing the same. And
Yeah,
it's such a mental dynamic of being a paid athlete, but then having to do night shifts, whether you choose to do that job or not. You've got to work and find that balance, and it's not an easy level to play. It's not an amateur game on a weekend where if you want to turn up, you can turn up. If you don't want to turn up, you don't have to turn up. This is you are expected to be there, and we're expecting you to be the Mike Butt that we've paid for and signed. So there's quite a few times when I thought, is this a conflict of interest now that I'm not gonna play well enough because of the work I've had to do the night before? But there's times I was doing 30, 40,000 steps, and most of the time I was carrying stuff and then playing a game the day after, or playing a game and then going to a shift afterwards. But I think that's one of the reasons that I kind of have got where they've got because of that commitment and resilience. That
yeah.
I think it's kept me grounded, if I'm honest.
Mm. No, because and again, like you've got a wife there, mate, and yeah, and so you've also got to live. You've got to enjoy each other's company,
Yeah.
but in the humour to do it as well. Like, and that's not Rachel's fault, is it? That you might be in a bad mood because of a shit performance or a shitty job if like something's not brought down the way you put it up and things. That's what I think we don't see, mate. That's why I brought that up, if you don't mind, mate.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's having that life balance. So yeah, you play a game on a Sunday, doesn't go the way you want it to. There's a lot of people that don't like the way the fans talk, but for me, they're paying the money, and whether they pay or not, it's just an opinion. So I think they've got every right to have the opinion. It's when it's said in front of people's family or friends, or it's direct abuse, is when it crosses a line, and forgetting that there is a human being there. But for me, I'm all for that. If I drop the ball and get called a wanker, I am a wanker because I've dropped the ball. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I wasn't too fussed, but. Um, you'd you'd go home on a Sunday, you'd be in bed miserable, you'd be sore, and you're just moaning about the games that you misses, and then work comes around on a Monday morning, and then before you know it, you're back in Tuesday, and you've got to turn around to 25 of your mates in the coach and say, "I'm sorry for dropping that ball," and it's just constant pressure because, like you said, the world doesn't stop. The the fridge needs filling again, so somebody's got to go to the shop. She's got a job, and yeah, it's really difficult. But I think if you stop enjoying it, that's when it's a downward spiral.
With that, mate, I'm with it. So leaving Swinton, mate, was it an amicable chat before you come and sign for us at Widnes? How did that go down?
Again, I think I was pretty fortunate. I think if it wasn't for Alan Coleman, because at the time, again, I didn't have an agent, so I was just winging it. But I feel like the connection that I made with Al, he saw me as a person and not just a player, um, and he knew what I offered as a person and a player. And I don't think there would have been Mike Butt signs at Widnes without Alan being there. And I know when I first signed, there was obviously a lot of question marks with a coaches coming from Swinton to Widnes. Is this the way Widnes want to go forward? And the players he's bringing in, and um, there's a lot of questions asked about that, and it was just on me to prove it and go, yeah, I am worth a shirt in this team. But yeah, that kind of came about because of Alan. It got to the point where I was very loyal to Swinton for the long time, but it just felt like the time was right and he had to do something a bit different and see what else I could explore. So it was an easy decision. It was a tough decision, but it was an easy one.
And how have you found it, mate? Has it been everything you wanted it to be so far?
Yeah, it's been mega, been absolutely mega. Coming in and just making mates again straight away. Um, Hearing people's opinions from the start of walking in on day one to where we are now. It's just nice, and again the fan base and the potential that Widnes has got to be back up there. Then I think that Wallington game was one that stood out for me. Um, Driving through Widnes and just seeing Wire fans and Widnes fans walking from the train station, and it just being like, wow, this town's busy now. This town's booming. And it just showed that it's got potential. So if I can be just a tiny part in building that back to where it should be, then yeah, I don't think I'll ever look back and regret the decision.
I don't think you would, and I don't think that's in you anyway. Like you've got that character where it was just a challenge you couldn't say no to. Maybe
Mm.
you'd have regretted it not doing it, mate. So at least
Yeah,
you're doing it.
yeah.
Yeah. So you touched a little bit off camera, mate, about you got a bit of a niggle, and how have you been with injuries throughout, mate? How, have you been lucky with them?
I've been very fortunate. I've not had any serious injuries. I've always had very strange injuries that have kept me out. I've never had like a broken leg, ACL, anything like that, and touch wood, it doesn't happen. But I got I got a knee in my hip a few years ago at Swinton. There was no broken bones, nothing like that, but I had nerve damage. I had that much swelling and bruising on the nerve that I couldn't lift my leg up. And every time I sneezed, it was like someone was stabbing me, and it was it was absolutely awful. But there was in the nice way, there was nothing wrong with me. There was no rehab I could do to recover it. It was just letting it settle, and I was 8 weeks that I was out for. And I know it's not about the money, but you pay for an insurance policy that covers you when you're not working, and I couldn't work. So I was losing money, and I didn't even have a cool injury to show for it. I didn't have a nice black eye on my face. I had a limp, and I had big bruising on my hip. So it was yeah, it was a strange one. And then last game of the season against London, just gone. I tore the ligaments in my ankle. So went and got a scan, and I was out for 6 to 8 weeks of that. Um, Again, I was fortunate enough that it was in the off season that I've not missed any of this season, and it's not put me behind. I missed out on a couple international caps again, but in the grand scheme of things, I've missed 2 games there when I could have missed 6 to 8 weeks.
How do you deal with the being out for a while, mate? How do you cope with that? Are you quite accepting of injuries and it's part of the sport? Knuckle down and get back.
No, I think I'm pretty aware of my surroundings and the people that are near me and with me, and I know people who are doing it tough, who have had big injury after big injury, and me missing a few weeks and doing a bit of rehab, if I can just be a little boost for them in the rehab club and be on the bike next to them or be in the gym with them. Um, but there's no way I'd be getting my violin out for a few weeks of injury when there's lads who unfortunately are doing it tough and a surgery after surgery. So yeah, I think I've been fine dealing with it personally.
So the Welsh thing, mate, how do you declare yourself as being eligible? So when did they ask? Like, do you get a form or something, Mike? Or you have to declare who you're eligible for?
Yeah, so it began when I was at a wedding in Mexico. Um, I was sat on one of the sun lounges, which is half submerged in the water. And I
That's a
was just
posh hotel,
on,
that, Mike.
oh, it was called Moon Palace in Cancun. It's unbelievable. But I was on social media and Mudge Lloyd had just been picked in the World Cup squad in 2017, I think it was. So I just texted him and said, congrats for getting in the team. Just so you know, I'm Welsh. And he was like, no, you're not. I went, I think I am actually. And he said, how? I said, well, my granny was born in Wales. He said, you tit, you're Welsh. And I was like, oh. So within about 10 minutes, the Wales team manager, Bob, rang me. And I was obviously in Mexico. And I had the international dial tone going off. And I was like, hello? He said, Mike, are you Welsh? And I said, I think so. He said, get me your mum's birth certificate and your granny's birth certificate ASAP. So I've rang my mum and I said, Mum, quick, I need your help. And she's like panicking, going, what on earth's happening? Where have you injured yourself in Mexico? And I said, no, the Wales team, the Wales team manager rang me, asking for your birth certificate. And honestly, in about 4.2 seconds, the birth certificate was on my phone. My mum had sent it. Sent it over to Bob Wilson, and he said, "Yeah, you qualify." He said, "We've literally just finalised the squad for the World Cup. But if anybody pulls out with injury, we're calling you in." And I was sat there halfway through my strawberry daiquiri, and I turned to Rachel and went, I might be playing in the World Cup if someone gets injured. And she's like, what? No, you're not. And I said, no, I'm being serious, I might be. I said, if somebody gets injured, I'm in the squad and it's in Australia for 3 weeks. And then one of the lads heard it, and before you know it, 20 people were like, oh my God, that's unbelievable, that's mint. Luckily for them, no one got injured and no one pulled out. But yeah, for the year after, I was straight into the training camp, and again, it was something I've been and done going into that train on squad and having to prove yourself from the start. It didn't matter what your name was in your background. It was they're picking the best players in that training camp and putting the best squad together. And I was fortunate enough to make the squad in 2018.
How is that? Do you have a pinch me moment, Mike, at all? Was it the bag of stash? Is it the first session? Is it the first time you stood listening to the anthem? How do you comprehend?
It was the first time it kind of hit home of the environment I was in was um, we were playing in the Four Nations. Well, it was called the European Championships, and it was
Yeah.
basically to qualify for the next World Cup. And John Kay played a video called The Code Breakers, which is BBC One documentary, about basically the the Welsh players coming up to the north to play rugby league, and they got exiled from playing union and exiled from going to the local amateur rugby union clubs. It is a good documentary. It's definitely worth a watch, but John had played it, so every single person sat in that room could see what it meant to be Welsh and how proud they were. And you've got to bear in mind that there's probably over 50% of players that weren't born in Wales, probably a bigger percentage. A couple Australian lads in there who have never been to Wales in their life. So it was to bring everyone in and go, you're playing for the country here. And there's a lot of passionate people. So that was like the first kind of pinch me moment going, wow, this is big, this. Um, and then it was the realization of going, I have no idea what the national anthem is. The Scottish one sang in English, the Irish one sang in English, And the Welsh is its own language, so I had to go on Spotify and I had to download the lyrics, and it was just a random drive to work. I was trying to learn the anthem to go. I'm going to make my debut at some point, and I need to be ready. So yeah, that was a bit of a pinch me moment. And then there was one memory of being sat in my granny's house and thinking back now, I forgot how broad a Welsh accent was, and it was a real strong Welsh accent. And we were sat, and she had one of those TVs that had a massive back on it, and it was a little
Yeah,
tiny screen in the middle. In England, Rugby Union were playing against Wales in the Six Nations, and my granny said, "Oh, I'm going to see you playing in that England shirt one day," because obviously we were kind of all English. Do you know what I mean? At the point, like everyone was supporting England apart from my granny, and she saw me as English. And obviously, she passed away prior to making my debut, quite a few years prior. But I got a pull on that red jersey, and I think it would have been mint if she was here. To have seen that going
yeah.
playing for her country and not England. So yeah,
She'll have seen it, mate. She'll have seen it. And do you know what? It's something for you to attach yourself to as well, which is nice, and it mate gives it a greater meaning, gives you another purpose. Not that you need it because you're highly committed, and I've no doubt you do everything you can in every facet of the game. Come kick off to whistle being blue, but it's still something you can attach yourself to, isn't it, mate?
yeah, definitely. And like you said, it gives it that kind of that extra bit of meaning because when you stood in that lineup and you've got lads belting the anthem out and how proud they are to be Welsh and tears coming down the eyes. And again, I'm stood there a bit of an imposter going, I don't I don't have that natural passion for the badge as a pure Welshman would have. But I'm going to make sure that I give absolutely everything for this badge because I'm privileged enough to have it on my chest right now, and I'd like to think I've done pretty well on that side of making sure that I'm representing it the best I can, and I'm giving everything I can for the country of Wales. So
And fundamentally, mate, that's what people look back on. So it's good that you said that you are representing yourself, aren't you? So
mhm.
like, it's nice that your nan's got the attachment to it, or your granny, sorry, that you call her. But fundamentally, mate, it's only you that you'll have to look in the mirror at. So no,
Yeah.
I like that. So what's the hopes, mate, for this season? Do you set little personal goals now, Mike, or is it still week to week for you and maintaining a place in the team and stuff?
Yeah, if I'm honest, it is week to week. You have your
Yeah,
team targets, you have your team goals. I know how quickly week by week it can change with injuries, with new signings and stuff. Um, I had a good one-to-one with Coleman. He does it with all the players at
yeah.
certain points for the season, and end of pre-season he sat me down and said, "How do you think you've gone?" And I said, "If I'm honest, I don't feel like I'm putting myself at the top of the list to get that starting jersey this year." And he said, "No, I feel the same. I think you're focusing on other people, and you need to focus on yourself a little bit more." So yeah, straight from that conversation, I went home, went on ChatGPT, got myself a bit of a better food plan together, trained that bit harder, managed to get that shirt and managed to get a starting position. But that means nothing with it being week by week. All it takes is obviously Nathan's coming, absolutely killing it. If he gets a shirt in front of me, he gets it because he deserves it. Jamal's just come in, scored two tries in a weekend, and it shows how quickly that it doesn't matter what number you've got on your shirt, whoever's playing well that week's getting that shirt the week after. So yeah, for me, it's a little wins of can I get through training being the best I can be? Yeah. Can I put myself in the squad for this weekend? Yeah. And then can I play well that weekend to hopefully put myself in a team for the week after?
Just before we move on from that, mate, is nice and direct how you like it, Mike.
Pretty much,
Yeah,
yeah.
bit of honesty in that, mate. Yeah,
Yeah, you need it. There's no bullshitting. There's no um just smoke. It's just straight to the point. And sometimes that's how it's got to be. But I think with Alan, which a lot of people might not might not see because they're not seeing the day to day. He's good with people, so he won't speak to every single person the same. He'll know what someone needs and what somebody else needs, and he knows how to get the best out of me by conversations like that, which the conversation was probably a minute and a half, and it was nod at each other, then walk off, and that was it. That's all we needed.
So I've come to that time of the chat. I've got a few daft questions for you, Mike. So do you have any pre-match superstitions, mate?
Nope, nothing.
Right. Nothing wrong with that, mate. You can just concentrate on the game, I suppose, can't you?
Yeah.
So this next word definition is different for everybody. But the toughest player you played with and against, so you might not know him, but you might know the club and position they were in, or certain game you had a bad day at the office with them and stuff.
If I'm gonna say toughest, probably Tit Chalkyard. Um, I think he still might be playing now. I'm pretty sure he signed again. He'd
Yes, yeah.
retired, he'd come back, he'd retired, he'd come back again. He played in that playoff final with both knees full leg strapped. He would run 100 miles an hour into every contact. He'd put his head where a lot of other people wouldn't, and just seeing a man so not even versatile because he was getting injuries. He was just taping up and playing on. He was one tough CUNT.
Right, mate. What's the favourite away ground you've played at?
Just because of the whole experience, Toronto. Um,
Yeah,
just because I got to do an away game playing in Canada, and we were fortunate enough one weekend to be there when Toronto Raptors were in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Um, so the whole city was just absolutely buzzing.
yeah.
And yeah, it was that is an away trip, probably that. As an away ground day to day. Unsure, unsure.
If you could tell your younger Mike something, mate, what would it be and why?
If I'm honest, just do exactly what you've done
Like,
because
yeah,
I think it's worked out not too bad so far.
yeah, like that, mate. Any player from any generation you'd have liked to have played alongside from either called, mate?
I've never been a big rugby fan, so I never used to watch it. I wasn't watching it week in, week out. It was if the Six Nations were on, you'd have that on in the background on BBC or whatever. But yeah, I never had any idols in rugby.
Fair enough, mate. So you're on the bus on the way home from a long away day, mate. You've had a few beers. The microphone's in your hand. What you giving us?
I'm giving the mic straight back. I'm giving the mic straight back. There's a
Just
lot
a
of songs that
straight
I'd like
face.
to,
You said it as well.
yeah, there's a lot of songs I'd like to sing, but I know my limitations and yeah, singing's not up there. But
Yeah.
I could be a great hype man and I'll be singing in the background, but I'll never be the main man.